Hi guys, it is Wraith from Blackwood Games and we are playing Elite Dangerous. Today we are going to be having a brief introduction to engineering. Now I've had a lot of questions about this. Engineering has been something that I have really pushed since I started the game. So basically I'm just going to give you a brief rundown. I'm not going to tell you where to go, what to grab, etc. I'm just going to show you how to get started. There are plenty of guides out there and I'm actually going to link a few useful ones in the description below the video. So let's talk about engineering. What is engineering? It basically enables you to modify your ship and get some extra benefits. There are some very good benefits and others that aren't so great. So first of all, let's look at the engineering tab. So we'll go across to our 4 key if we're using our computers, and we'll click and highlight the engineering tab. Now when you first start the game, the first engineer that you get access to is Felicity Farseer. Now every single engineer, you have a requirement to unlocking them. So basically, when I started the game, I learned about Felicity Farseer through common knowledge. I gained access to her because my Pilots Federation exploration rank is Scout or higher, which basically means that I travelled a couple of star systems, and that's how she became unlocked. Now, each engineer has something that you need to deliver to them or something that you need to do to unlock them. So for instance, I fulfilled my initial contract by providing a unit of meta-alloys. In the case of Professor Palin, it required that I travelled at least 5,000 light years from where I started. Now each engineer obviously has a specialty, and each specialty will be like their thrusters, shield generators. In Felicity's case, it is her frameshift drives. Now they range in between ranks, access ranks 1 to 5. Felicity Farseer obviously has grade 5 access to her frameshift drives. Now when you reach there, you then have to start leveling up their reputation or their access, and you do that by either in some cases delivering your data, your exploration data to them, but the best way to do it is by basically doing their mods. So for instance, with Felicity Farseer, I went to her and I pinned a blueprint, and each blueprint requires a certain item. So for instance, we needed 8 typical disrupted wake echoes with her, which you can generally do just sitting outside one of the hubs and wake scanning anything that comes past. But then as I use that, it levels it up to the next one, and I get access to level 2, where I then needed chemical processes. Level 3 obviously requires some things like phosphorus, strange wake solutions, then manganese distilleries, hyperspace trajectories. All of them require just a little bit more rarer materials as you go on. Data mined wake exceptions you will get in the course of actually just picking up your usual wake scanning stuff. But regardless, each one of them offers a benefit and a negative to whichever module that you're engineering. So in this case, it increased my mass and integrity, but gave me optimized mass when I reached level 5. So other engineers, each one of them, they'll be scattered around the galaxy, will have different things that you require to do with them in order to unlock them. So when you access your grade 5 access, you can actually then pin the blueprint to wherever you go and take it with you, so you don't have to go back and visit them. Now, having said that, if you were to do remote engineering, which is what the pinned blueprint stuff is, elsewhere, you will not get reputation or extra access with them. You need to be able to actually get that rank 5, grade 5 access while you're sitting with them. Now, if you need to find an engineer, let's say we're looking for Liz Ryder, for instance, then we can view it on the galaxy map, and it'll take us straight there. So I've been in here already, I've marked it, etc, etc, and we would go then into the system map, and we will see that Liz Ryder is on this planet and she is located right here. Now each one of them, like I said, have something that you need to do for them in order to just get access. They won't do their engineering with you until you've done that. Some of them are very, very, very difficult. Others are really easy. But as well as being able to just modify your things, so just giving you a look, I've got my engineer's workshop where these are all my pinned blueprints at the moment. However, each one of these pinned blueprints has an effect as well, and that effect, we'll just go and have a quick look, is the experimental effect. Now I haven't applied these to all my ships. I think I'm sitting on something at the moment that I haven't actually done an experimental effect on at all, but those experimental effects which go here don't count as one of these things here. So in order to get the experimental effect, you need to have the material required and it be in the presence of the engineer. You cannot remote experimental effect at all in the slightest. So let's say, for instance, we're going to go back to Felicity Farce here for a second. Now a good example of that is, let me just switch my ship and actually show you that way. So I actually I have a couple of ships that I've just been messing about with. Now as you can see, let's say this Cobra Mark III here. So as you can see, under my dirty drive tuning, I have stripped down. That's an example of the experimental effects. Or the increased FSD range, Mass Manager. So I'm just going to quickly pop into that, and I'm going to show you what it's like on the engineering tab, on the remote engineering tab. Now I can remove the effect when I'm away from Felicity Farce here, but I can't add another effect. For that you have to go and visit them in person. So let's just get across to that now, and I'll show you an example of it. So we're going to go into Engineer's Workshop, which is the remote engineering. I'm going to go to our FSD, and as you can see, I've selected Mass Manager here, which gives me more optimized mass at the cost of integrity. Now this experimental effect, if I were to say try to remove it or something like that, I wouldn't be able to put another one on until I went back to her to get a different one. As well as this, all these blueprints, you can only pin one of the blueprints with each engineer. They usually have a range of 3 different types, but honestly, with Felicity Farce, increased FDS range cannot be beaten. It is the best. I urge you all to get increased FSD range as soon as you possibly can. Now let's go back into the Engineers tab again. I am going to really quickly show you just some of the examples of some of the things you need to do. Now I'm not going to go into it in a great amount of detail, mainly because, as I said, there are some amazing guides out there. I've been particularly using Fox's guide, but there are other amazing guides out there. Now 200 units of landmines, obviously you need something to cart around that. Paying $500,000 credits, that's fairly easy to do. Now things like this, 50 units of bromelite. Now this can be difficult if you don't have a mining ship, because it's not readily available in the galaxy. If we were to go across to, let's see, the 50 units of Lavian brandy, that is a rare commodity, can only be purchased from Lavia, and you can only purchase it in stocks of, well, depending on the situation with the actual system itself, usually about 24. But if the situation was, for instance, like, where are we? If we go to, I believe it was Heratani, 50 units of Cmdr cigars. Now, unfortunately, Cmdr at this stage is in infrastructure lockdown, which means that you can only buy and transport 3 units at a time. So I urge you guys to find a way around that, perhaps utilize your friends, because if you can load it all up onto somebody's carrier, for instance, you will be able to get somebody to transfer you all those at once, and you use a collector limpet to pick them all up into your cargo ship. But it's a 10-minute respawn timer after you've purchased something that is a rare commodity until it pops again. And if you are carrying it currently in your cargo, you cannot, under any circumstances, re-add it to your cargo. It just won't show up. So your cargo hold needs to be empty of that particular rare commodity in order to pick up the item again. Hence why I said you need a place to dump it and then come back less than 10 minutes later. Now, if multiple people are doing that at once with something that is in infrastructure failure, you can get this done in maybe about an hour or two. Maybe longer if you've only got 1 or 2 people, or else you are going to be stuck making the 5 jumps between Cmdr and Quemaki, carrying 3 units at a time, and that is roughly about 16 round trips. So anyway, that's the real basic fundamentals of engineering unlocks. I'm going to link a guide that I used quite heavily underneath this video, and I hope it helps. If it does give you a little bit of an introduction and a little bit of a help, please like and subscribe. Also, please bear in mind that I'm more than happy to answer any questions in the comments that you might have. Alright, have a lovely day. Bye.